Imagine waking up in a strange city with no recollection of how you got there. You don't recognize the clothing you are wearing or the items you are carrying with you in your backpack. On top of this, you soon discover that you cannot recall the past 15 months of your life. Today's first story starts out with these bizarre circumstances, and to this day, questions remain. Welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy, and I typically discuss things that are strange, mysterious, and creepy. If that interests you, please subscribe or follow me. If you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment, or share this video with a friend. That really helps out a small channel like mine. Okay, now let's get into today's stories. On February 20th, 1978, Stephen Kubacki, a 23-year-old college student, planned a solo cross-country skiing trip near the shores of Lake Michigan. This wasn't out of character for Stephen. He was an experienced outdoorsman who often explored the rugged terrain of the Great Lakes area. He parked his car in a small town called Saugatuck, just south of Holland, Michigan, and headed out into the snowy wilderness. He was known for his love of the outdoors and was experienced, so when he decided to ski near Lake Michigan, no one thought much of it. But when he didn't return, his family grew worried. Search teams were called, and they discovered Stephen's ski tracks leading toward the lake. His path was easy to trace at first, but when they reached the edge of Lake Michigan, the trail abruptly stopped. The tracks didn't turn around or lead back to safety. They simply ended. Searchers scoured the area, hoping for signs of Stephen or his body, but all they found was his backpack, his skis, and poles lying abandoned on the snow near the water's edge. Initial theories suggested Stephen might have fallen into the lake. But the ice was thick in that area, and divers found no holes or breaks in the surface that could explain such an accident. Local authorities expanded their search to the surrounding woods, but after days of combing the area, they came up empty-handed. Stephen's friends and family were left devastated. With no leads and no body, Stephen was declared missing. Over time, many presumed he was dead. Fast forward 15 months to May 5th, 1979. A man woke up lying in a grassy field in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, over 700 miles from where he had disappeared. That man was Stephen Kubacki. Stephen's return was as baffling as his disappearance. He had no idea how he ended up in Massachusetts or what had happened to him during the previous 15 months. Even more bizarre, Stephen wasn't physically injured. He was in good health. Better than one might expect for someone who had been missing for over a year. When Stephen reunited with his family, he was wearing clothes that weren't his. In his possession were a small backpack, maps of various locations across the U.S., and receipts from places he didn't recognize. These receipts suggested he had been traveling extensively during the time he was missing, but Stephen had no memory of visiting any of these places. To add to the mystery, Stephen didn't appear traumatized or disoriented. If anything, he seemed calm. When asked where he had been, Stephen could only say he didn't know. He had no memory of what had happened after setting off on his skiing trip. Stephen's disappearance and reappearance have inspired a wide range of theories. Some believe he suffered from dissociative fugue, a rare psychological condition triggered by extreme stress or trauma. In this state, a person might lose their identity, wander to new locations, and later have no recollection of their actions. But there are elements of Stephen's story that challenge this explanation. For one, dissociative fugue is usually accompanied by signs of psychological distress or confusion upon the person's return. Stephen exhibited none of this. He seemed remarkably composed, as if his 15-month absence had been a normal part of his life. Others have pointed to the so-called Great Lakes Triangle, a mysterious region around the Great Lakes known for unexplained disappearances. Could Stephen have stumbled into a kind of time slip, temporarily exiting our reality? Some suggest this might explain why he woke up in a different state with no memory of the intervening time. Stephen's life after his return was equally enigmatic. He refused to undergo therapy or hypnosis to recover his lost memories. He claimed he didn't want to dig into the past and was content to move forward. Stephen went on to earn a master's degree in linguistics and even wrote a book titled Metaphysics, The Ontological Foundations of Ethical Phenomena. In it, he explored philosophical ideas about the nature of existence, though he avoided any direct mention of his disappearance. To this day, Stephen Kubacki has not publicly offered any new details about his ordeal. Whatever happened to him remains a mystery, one he seems content to leave unsolved. Stephen Kubacki's case remains one of the most baffling examples of these phenomena. But he's not the only person to have vanished under similar circumstances. A case similar to Stephen Kubacki's bizarre disappearance and reappearance without memory is the story of David Lewis, a Texas attorney who mysteriously disappeared in 1998. While his case isn't in the Great Lakes Triangle, it shares some eerie parallels, particularly the inexplicable journey he appears to have taken before his tragic death. David Lewis was a well-respected attorney and family man in Amarillo, Texas. On January 28, 1998, he disappeared under circumstances that have baffled investigators and his family ever since. The day he vanished, David was reportedly preparing to watch the Super Bowl with his wife and daughter. However, when they returned home from a shopping trip, David was gone. What made this case peculiar was how organized everything in the house seemed. The VCR was still recording the game he planned to watch. His shoes and coat were left neatly by the door. His car was found at the courthouse a few days later, even though no one saw him leave it there. For months, there was no sign of David Lewis, until 11 months later, when his body was discovered hundreds of miles away in Mounds, New Mexico. He was lying on the side of a highway, fully clothed, and appeared to have died after being hit by a car. Yet, the circumstances of how he got there were completely unexplainable. There were no signs he had traveled by conventional means, like purchasing plane tickets or taking a bus. Witnesses in Amarillo reported seeing him as late as February 1st, 3 days after he had supposedly left. Despite extensive media coverage, no one could piece together his whereabouts or how he ended up in New Mexico. Most hauntingly, there were no clear indications of foul play, and David had no known reason to leave his life behind. Like Stephen Kubacki, David's disappearance raises questions about whether he experienced amnesia, was abducted, or voluntarily left, only to meet a tragic end. There are many theories that have surfaced to try to explain these bizarre cases. Some believe these men suffered some type of a psychological break that caused them to have a lapse in memory or uncharacteristic behaviors and travel. Others suggest alien abduction, pointing to the lack of memory and strange details surrounding their returns. And then there's the possibility of covert human involvement, government experiments, or secret kidnappings buried under layers of mystery. What do you think happened to Stephen during those 15 months? Was it a psychological break, a paranormal event, or something else entirely? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, the world is a far stranger place than we'll ever truly understand. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out the other videos I have to offer on my channel with true crime cases, mysterious events, and more. Until next time, please stay safe and as always, stay curious.